of the frogs we will see on this film wrestling or creating sounds are male frogs. Two frogs mating. Frog eggs, embryos, a recently hatched tadpole with gills along its sides, blood cells being pumped through the tadpole's gills, an older tadpole, a tadpole chewing away on a twig, the two nostrils of a tadpole, a freshwater jellyfish, a hydra sticking one of its tentacles in the nostril of a tadpole. Ouch. More than 8 tadpoles chewing away on a tasty slug. The right eye of a tadpole with 2 legs, blood cells flowing through the foot of a tadpole, a tadpole with 4 legs, and a froglet. A froglet trying to catch a fly. Gotcha. mating, also called amplexus. This frog couple appeared here on my concrete patio floor near a pond right after I used scissors to cut down some plants growing around the edge of that pond so as to more clearly film frogs in the pond. This frog couple apparently was in that pond and climbed out as I cut plants near where they were. We are seeing them at about 7:30 p.m. in the evening. They hopped down a sidewalk past the pond and then into a grassy area, but a few minutes later they came back to this weedy patch near the pond, and watch and listen very carefully here. The male frog is creating sort of a gurgling sound, and I think he is communicating to the female frog with that sound. What do you think? Here we see a different frog couple in a different pond during the daytime at about 12:30 p.m. just after noon, and believe it or not, there were two frog couples mating in the same pond on the same afternoon, and we will see the other frog couple a little bit later. There are some frog eggs just above this frog couple. The male frog has a very tight hold onto the female. He uses what are called nuptial pads, spiky gripping organs on his front legs to keep a very tight hold of the female. The female frog has mucus on her skin, which is slippery, but with his nuptial pads, the male keeps a very tight hold of the female. Here are frog eggs in that same pond the same afternoon. Here is the other frog couple in that same pond the same afternoon, and the female frog has some white eggs coming out of her rear end there. The male frog needs to stay right with the female throughout the mating process, which can take several hours, because as the female frog pushes out her eggs, the male needs to be right there to fertilize the eggs with his sperm cells. Otherwise, the eggs will not develop and the eggs will die. A female frog can lay about 600 eggs in one afternoon or in one evening. She usually lays clumps of about 30 eggs at a time, and she usually attaches a clump of eggs to a twig or plant just below the surface of the water. After she has laid about 600 eggs, she runs out of eggs, but she can develop more eggs, and about 37 days later she may lay 600 more eggs. Clump of frog eggs, one egg through the microscope, eggs in a pond. A few days later, through the microscope, a few days later, embryos. We are seeing these embryos about 2 weeks after the female frog deposited the eggs in the pond. These embryos have developed muscles and use the muscles to wiggle inside their egg capsules. The embryos also have tiny hairs called cilia covering their bodies, which also help them to move and to rotate within their egg capsules. The clear part of the clump of embryos is mostly made of gelatin, which jello is also made of. Let's take a closer look at that wiggling embryo. There is its yolk, which provides it with food energy. The embryo is able to escape from its gelatin egg capsule by producing enzymes from glands on its head, which partially dissolve the gelatin and allow the embryo to wiggle out of its capsule and to start the dangerous tadpole stage of its life. When it first hatches, a tadpole has external gills for about 1 or 2 days until skin grows over the gills and they become internal gills. The size of a hatchling tadpole. Antony van Leeuwenhoek, the wonderful Dutch microscopist, saw this same scene through his single-lens microscope in 1688 and was thrilled and paid a professional artist to draw a picture of the tadpole with its external gills and blood cells flowing through the gills. Higher magnification. The blood cells absorb oxygen from the water through the gills. A bit older tadpole whose gills are now internal. A tadpole with teeth. Tadpoles in a plastic box. There are 3 recently hatched tadpoles amidst many Daphnia in this plastic box, and they can glue themselves to the side of the plastic box because they have adhesive glands for the first few days of their tadpole lives. Let me show you how I filmed them. I have a video camera set up horizontally with an extension tube and a 4x microscope objective lens, and I'm shining bright but cool fiber optic light onto the tadpoles in the plastic box. And when I get a good picture, we see that. Those little blackish teeth, sometimes called denticles, are made of keratin, which is the same substance which our fingernails are made of. Keratin is also what cats' and dogs' claws are made of. And lions' and tigers' claws are made of keratin also. Very tough protein substance. That tadpole's heart is beating away, pumping blood through its internal gills and throughout the tadpole's body. There's that tadpole's spiracle. A tadpole sucks water in through its mouth and nostrils and absorbs oxygen from the water through its internal gills, then expels the water through its spiracle, and it has just one spiracle on its left side, as you see there. Tadpoles eat a wide variety of food items, all the way from living bacteria, algae, protists, and pollen grains to dead plants and animals. Tadpoles are opportunistic omnivores, which means they will eat any nutritious food, living or dead, which they can find. In addition to the rows of little blackish teeth, tadpoles also have those two large jaws. You see that tadpole sort of sucking food off the bottom of the box? White creature you see swimming around in the mouth of that tadpole is a single-celled protist. Sucked it in. Nutritious. This is the north side of one of my ponds, and the north side of the pond gets the most direct sunlight, which attracts photosynthetic protists, which the tadpoles eat. Chromatophores are the brown and gold-colored spots you see on the tadpole. They can help camouflage a tadpole from predators. Another way I film tadpoles is to put about 6 liters of water from this pond into an 8-liter or 2-gallon aquarium, and I bring the aquarium into my studio and I use the same video camera, this time using a 2x microscope objective lens, and I'm shining bright but cool fiber optic light with 2 light guides onto the tadpoles and other aquatic creatures in the aquarium. Through the video camera we see there's a tadpole sucking food off the top surface of the water. There you see a predaceous diving beetle swimming by, and a few tadpoles. And through the video camera we see that a tadpole. At the very right of your screen you see a fly larva wiggling by. Tadpole chewing away there. Here you see lots of spherical green algae colonies, volvox colonies spinning by, and each of those spherical green colonies is made of hundreds of cells. A volvox colony in each nostril. Tadpoles usually have greenish feces, green poop, as you see there. When they want to, tadpoles can chomp away. This tadpole is chomping about 4 times per second with its jaws. Now this tadpole is just minding its own business. And that freshwater jellyfish, the hydra at the bottom of your screen, is reaching up with its tentacles and is sticking one of its tentacles in the left nostril of the tadpole. Ouch! Here we are going to see tadpoles chewing away on the outer surface of a Pacific Treefrog egg clump. Their embryos developing inside this egg clump. These tadpoles are chewing away on the outer surface. They have no intention of trying to eat at the embryos that are developing inside the clump, but they are probably feeding on the bacteria, possibly fungi and protists that are growing on the outer surface of the egg clump. Here we are seeing the oldest tadpoles. These tadpoles have 3 rows of teeth below their mouth and 2 rows of teeth above the mouth. There, that tadpole sucking in some nutritious green cells. The right eye and nostril of a tadpole. Tadpoles sucking nutritious bits into its mouth and also getting water and oxygen. Tadpoles eating a dead slug. I'd observed this scene a few times before, but I finally got it filmed little after 1 p.m. in the afternoon on June 20th. Somehow the slug had ended up in this pond, and by the time the tadpoles are chewing at it here, that slug is dead. Whether the tadpoles started chewing on the slug when it was still alive, I do not know, but they are just chewing away right now. And you can see when tadpoles get a chance, they love meat. I once saw tadpoles in the same pond try to chew on a grasshopper that had fallen in the pond. They had a hard time getting at the meat of the grasshopper because a grasshopper has a tough exoskeleton made of chitin. But a slug does not have an exoskeleton, so these tadpoles can just chew away nutritious, high in protein. After the slug is all eaten, it's back to sucking up bacteria, algae, and protists. Tadpole with 2 legs. The rear legs appear first on a tadpole. One of these tadpoles has 2 rear legs and one of them doesn't quite have its legs yet. Let's take a look at a tadpole's foot through the microscope here. You can see the blood cells flowing through the foot of that tadpole. Tadpole with 4 legs. The front legs appear next. A tadpole's metamorphosis, growing forelegs and greatly changing its internal organs, is largely controlled by hormones which the tadpole's thyroid gland produces, thyroxine and other hormones. If you look closely, you will see that these tadpoles are breathing synchronously. That is, they are moving their mouths at the same time. Froglet, also called a metamorph, in my hand, still has a little bit of a tail. Let's try that again. Notice that the tadpole looks larger than the froglet it will change into. Here are two froglets on an apple floating in a pond. This pond is beneath my apple tree, and it's not uncommon for an apple to fall in that pond. And these two froglets are just sitting a spell. They hopped away. Froglets try to catch a fly. There are 5 froglets here. There's a fly right at the top of the screen. Oop, missed it. Missed it again. The fly's walking down toward the water. Missed it again. The fly's onto the water. Flies a bit. Comes back up. Gotcha. Yummy. Let's watch our froglet climb straight up the wall. Yup, can climb straight up. A frog's skin through a microscope. A frog breathes through its skin, which is kept moist by mucus glands. A frog also breathes with its lungs. One of these frogs is going to hop away.